and I particularly want to thank Prime Minister Modi and the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, and President von der Leyen and the European Commission. And since he's not speaking today, I wanted to, well, maybe he is speaking today. I had a note he wasn't speaking. At any rate, I'm going to stop there.
This is my video update from Nicosia, Cyprus on this Sunday, midday, September the 10th. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with the G20 summit, which has wrapped up from India. And the big news from the G20 is that there was no statement from the G20 leaders condemning Russia for the conflict in Ukraine. They came out with a statement which they all agreed on, but they could not work in any kind of condemnation of Russia. That was what the Biden White House and the collective West was aiming for. That was probably top on the list of items on their agenda for the G20 meeting, was to try and get all of the attendees of the G20 to condemn Russia for Ukraine, and they did not pull it off. We got a statement, no condemnation of Russia, and I think this photo pretty much sums up the G20 summit, Modi and Lavrov. This photo, I think, sums it all up. And it was the collective West media that was telling us just 3-4 days ago that because Putin and Xi will not be attending the G20 summit, that Biden and the European Union, the Biden White House, Blinken, Ursula, the member states of the EU, the G7 members, Rishi Sunak, they were all going to go to India, and they were going to take advantage of the fact that Putin and Xi Jinping were not going to be in India, and they were going to use that to their advantage to condemn Russia for Ukraine and to move away whatever countries were in attendance in India, to move them away from a neutral status or a favorable position towards Russia, and to move them away towards the collective West bloc. That's what the collective West media was telling us was going to happen. Biden was going to talk to the leaders of the African Union. Biden was going to talk to leaders of various Asia and global South countries in attendance at the G20, and they were going to move them away from Russia and towards the collective West when it came to Project Ukraine, and that did not happen. That did not happen. This is a big L for the collective West, a big L for the Biden White House, a big L for Ursula von der Crazy, for Pirate Scholz, for Rishi Sunak. They failed. They failed in a big, big way. And what you ended up having was the Ukraine Foreign Ministry putting out a statement saying that they were very upset with the outcome of the G20 summit. Remember, Ukraine, Zelensky was not invited to the G20, and the Kremlin came out with a statement, and they said that they're very happy with the outcome of the G20 summit. So Putin doesn't even attend the G20, and he gets a perfect result from the summit. Lavrov was there, and as expected, Lavrov outclassed all of the collective West leaders and diplomats. They actually thought, the collective West and the collective West media, they actually thought that Ursula and Scholz and Biden and Blinken and Baerbock were going to be able to outsmart and outmaneuver Sergei Lavrov. Come on, man. Come on, man. That's not going to happen. That is not going to happen. And that's exactly what did not happen. Lavrov beat them all. He outclassed them all. And this was completely expected. But that's what the media was telling us. They were telling us that Biden's gonna roll into to India, and he is going to to change the geopolitical dynamics of conflict Ukraine, because Putin and Xi Jinping are not going to be in India. So Biden and Ursula and Rishi, they're going to take a full advantage of that. And they didn't. They didn't. So we have a lot of coping going on in the collective West because of the G20 final declaration, which does not condemn Russia. A whole lot of coping going on. And this is a title from Radio Free Europe, a propaganda media publication from the United States, Radio Free Europe. And they put out this article with the title, Divided G20 Statement Angers Kiev as New Drone Fragments Found in Romania. You see what they're trying to do here? They're very upset about the fact that Russia and China, that they won at the G20 summit, and that they didn't get a condemnation of Russia. So they come out with a title and they say that that the G20 is divided on a statement for the conflict in Ukraine. But look, we found Russian drone fragments in Romania. You see, they're coping really, really hard. You know, they lost the G20. They failed miserably at the G20 summit. So what do? They fall back on Article 5, trying to get NATO involved in the conflict in Ukraine. And they go back to the Russian drone fragments in Romania. Look, Russian drone fragments in Romania. Article 5, let's go. Let's get NATO involved in this failing Project Ukraine. Oh boy, they're coping. They're coping really, really hard. And one of the big topics that was discussed at the G20 summit was the grain deal. And Erdogan was working really hard to try and convince the collective West to honor the grain deal, like the original grain deal. Erdogan was like, look, I spoke to Putin. I was there last week in Sochi. He said that Russia would re-enter the grain deal, but you guys have to actually honor the grain deal. Like, you have to actually follow the terms of that deal, which means swift access to the Russian agricultural bank. It means unfreezing the assets of Russian fertilizer producers. And it also means not using the corridor, the Black Sea corridor, for the transfer of weapons to the Zelensky regime or to launch drone attacks towards Crimea. Those are the conditions that Russia has for the grain deal. Those are the original terms of the grain deal that the collective West did not honor. So every time the media in the West talks about Russia starving people because they pulled out of the grain deal, they didn't renew the grain deal because Russia didn't renew their participation in the grain deal. Russia is starving the poorest people in the world. Remember, that is a lie. That is 100% a lie. The reason Russia did not renew the grain deal is because the European Union and the UN, because the UN was part of this grain deal, they didn't follow the deal. They didn't honor the terms of the contract, of the agreement. And the easiest, the simplest part of the agreement that the EU refused to do was to turn on the SWIFT access for the one Russian agricultural bank. Over a 10-month time period, the EU refused to do it. It took the European Union and the collective West 5 seconds to turn off the SWIFT access for Russian banks, but it's taken them 10 months to turn on the SWIFT access for one Russian agricultural bank, and they still have not done it. So they're the ones, the collective West, they are the ones that are starving the world, as the narrative goes, because they just don't follow the grain deal agreement. Anyway, Erdogan was there. He was lobbying really hard to get the collective West to just honor the grain deal. And what did we get? We got the United Nations coming out with a statement saying to Russia that, okay, we will open up SWIFT access to the agricultural bank. But there's a catch. There is a catch to all of this. The United Nations, what they have come up with is a trick. They're not going to really honor the terms of the grain deal. They're going to try to trick Russia. And how are they going to do this? Well, the United Nations, what they are going to do is they are going to just open up the SWIFT access for the Russian Agricultural Bank subsidiary in Luxembourg. That's what they're going to do. They're not going to open up, as per the terms of the grain deal, they're not going to open up the SWIFT access for the main agricultural bank. They're going to open it up for the subsidiary of the Russian Agricultural Bank, which is under sanctions and is located in the European Union. That's how they're trying to trick Russia. So what did Peskov say when he heard this offer from the United Nations? He said, F no, man. What are you guys, joking? Peskov's like, look, here's what the agreement says. The agreement says you have to open up SWIFT for the main Russian agricultural bank. That's what the agreement says. So don't come to us and try to sell us these new terms, these amended terms, where you're going to open up the SWIFT access for the subsidiary bank. Don't try to sell us that. And to make matters worse, this bank is located in Luxembourg. Come on, guys. That's what Peskov said. And so, no deal. No deal is going to happen with the grain agreement. They always try to trick and deceive Russia. They just can't make a straightforward, honest agreement and just follow that agreement. Whether it's Minsk, whether it's the grain deal, they just can't do it. Something's wrong with like their thinking. Just honor the agreement. Just honor the agreement that you made, that you signed. You signed the agreement. Honor it. Nope, they come back with all these little tricks and all these little games, and Russia's not having any of it. So that's the Kremlin's position, and that's the correct position to take. Don't talk to us about subsidiary banks. Don't talk to us about opening up SWIFT to different banks. The UN was saying, look, we'll open up the SWIFT for the subsidiary of the agricultural bank in Luxembourg, and then when we deposit the money into the bank in Luxembourg, then that bank can move the money using the Russian messaging system. That bank can move the money to Russia. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Like Russia's going to go along with that. Yeah, you can pay us for the grain, but yeah, we'll keep the money in a bank in the European Union. Like that hasn't burned us before. So yeah, just put all the money in a bank in the European Union. We trust you. We don't think you guys are going to freeze that money or steal that money. No, that's not going to happen. We trust you guys. Give me a break, man. These guys, I'm telling you. You know, when you make deals with people, when you make agreements with people and they don't honor those agreements, man, it could drive you crazy. I mean, I think everyone here that's watching this video knows what I'm talking about. You know, and then you make an agreement with someone, they sign that agreement, and then they come back to you like a few months later after not honoring the agreement, and they come back to you and they say, yeah, you know, can we do it like this instead? Or maybe I'll pay you like this, or maybe we'll do that. And you're like, dude, come on, man. You signed the agreement. You read it, you signed it, just follow the agreement. That must be what the Kremlin is going through. They're probably like, God, these bozos, they can't honor a freaking agreement. And then they're going to the media and they're saying, we're the ones that are starving the world. And then they blame us because they can't turn on the SWIFT access to one bank. Incredible stuff, man. Incredible stuff. So one thing that the collective West is doing as they're trying to renegotiate an agreement that they signed up to is that they are trying to find alternative grain corridor routes. That is one of the things that they're trying to do. And the UK Telegraph, they came out with an article the other day with the title, let me pull it up here, UK planes protecting Ukraine ships from Russian attack after grain deal collapse. So basically, what you have here is Rishi Sunak coming out and saying, you know what, the grain deal is not going to happen. We're not going to open up the SWIFT access to the Russian banks. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to provide safety, security guarantees for a new corridor that we've cooked up. This corridor is a corridor where ships leave the ports in the ODYSEE region, very close to the border of Romania, and they transport the grain from this region through the territorial waters of Romania, very close to the Romanian shoreline, and eventually the ships dock at a port in Romania, and the grain, if it's grain, the grain or the weapons or whatever else they're smuggling, according to Annalena 360, the cocaine, what did she say? The 4 million tons of cocaine. Is that what Annalena said? Anyway, yeah, all this stuff is unloaded in Romania, and then it makes its way to Europe. That's the new grain corridor. And so, because Russia has been launching attacks, missile and drone attacks, at the ports in this ODYSEE region, the UK has said that they're going to use their air force to protect the ships that are traveling from these ports to Romania. We also have the news that the United States and Romania are going to be having military exercises. They're going to be conducting military exercises in the Black Sea, covering ships with military cargo for Ukraine. These exercises are going to take place from September 11th to 15th. And they're going to be dubbed the Sea Breeze exercises, taking place in the Black Sea and in the Danube Delta, according to the headquarters of the Romanian Naval Forces. Military representatives, not only from Romania and the United States, but also from Bulgaria, Great Britain, Turkey, Ukraine, and France will actively participate in the maneuvers. The main objective of Exercise Sea Breeze is to develop operational and tactical cooperation between participants in the field of combating explosive devices. Particular attention will be paid to ensuring freedom of navigation and neutralizing sea mines. So look, the UK and the US, one of the workarounds that they've thought up for the grain so that it can leave Ukraine, grain, weapons, Baerbock, cocaine, one of the things that they've thought up is to just forget about the original port, and let's just ship everything out of these ports close to Romania, and we'll move close to the Romanian shoreline, and we'll protect these ships with our air force and with a military exercise. We'll flex our muscles, and this will deter Russia from preventing the grain and everything else from leaving Ukraine. And another issue that these these military exercises and this UK Air Force protection, one of the issues that they hope to solve is that of insurance, because no one wants to insure the ships that are leaving Ukraine because it's just too risky. And so they're hoping that insurers will see that the U.S. and Romania and other countries are conducting military exercises in this Danube-Romania corridor. They're going to see that the Royal Air Force is protecting the ships as they move through this corridor, and therefore they're going to be able to find insurers. So they think that they've solved everything, right? They've worked it all out, and they've solved the grain deal problem. So they can tell Russia, take your original grain deal. We don't want it. We don't need it. We got a new corridor. But the problem with all of this is that the ports in this Odessa region are being destroyed by Russia. So what good is all of this corridor going to do you when Russia has destroyed or is in the process of destroying the actual ports in this Odessa region close to Romania? So now we understand why the Russian military is destroying these ports, because they're going to destroy any other option that the collective West had to replace the original corridor for the grain deal. And that's what they're doing. So all these maneuvers, these military exercises, the UK Royal Air Force monitoring the area, it's meaningless. It's a meaningless bluff that the Russian military is not going to be impressed with, that the Russian leadership is not going to be impressed with, and their plan is just to take out the actual ports in the Odessa region. So you can fly your Royal Air Force planes and do your military exercises close to Romania. You can do that all day. It doesn't make a difference because these ports are not going to function anyway. So that is the situation with the grain deal. That's the situation with the G20 summit. I think the highlight of the G20 summit, actually the definite highlight of the G20 summit, was Pirate Scholz. I think Pirate Scholz, he stole the show. He absolutely stole the show. And even when he was meeting Modi in the opening of the summit, and he was sporting his eye patch, Scholz even kind of had a pirate swagger to him. You know, I think he's really getting into the role of pirate. He's even starting to walk like a pirate. And he's wearing the eye patch because he got into a jogging accident. And, you know, damaging your eye and hurting your eye is the most common injury that runners face. So, you know, we always have to keep that in mind. This is a very, very common injury for all joggers, for all runners, is hurting the eye. So, so anyway, I think he was the highlight of the entire summit, was Pirate Scholz. I'm kind of liking Pirate Scholz, to be quite honest with everybody. I'm kind of getting to like Pirate Scholz. He's kind of got a new dangerous side to him, doesn't he? Pirate Scholz, arg. Arg, Trudeau, you idiot, arg. I hope that Pirate Scholz just embraces this new look. I hope that he just embraces it. He takes it even further. He starts to actually dress like a pirate, give speeches like a pirate. I want him to look like Adam Ant. Do you guys remember the British music artist Adam Ant? He was like really popular in the 80s and the early 90s. He used to have like the pirate getup. That was like his thing. I hope Scholz goes that route. You know, just embrace the pirate look, Scholz. Just go for it, man. Go for it. I think he's found his calling. I'd love to see Scholz in the Bundestag, like in the German parliament, giving a speech in full pirate mode, you know? arg, we're going to give Taurus missiles, arg, to the Zelensky regime, arg. And when we win this conflict with Russia, matey, we're going to make Putin walk the plank. Oh, man. Anyway, let's talk about the weapons that go to Ukraine. And we've talked about the Challenger tanks and how those Challenger tanks are now burning very nicely on the front lines of the conflict. There are reports that another 2 Challenger tanks have been destroyed. So I think we're at what, 3 or 4 Challenger tanks now have been destroyed by the Russian forces. And we now have word from the Pentagon that they are going to delay the training and the transfer of the Abrams tanks to Ukraine. So my thinking here is that the Pentagon, they saw all the Challengers burning, they saw the Leopards burning, and they said, you know what, maybe we shouldn't send our Abrams tanks to the front line. Ukraine Situation Report, M1 Abrams tank training extended. The training extension request means it will be additional weeks before the M1s arrive in Ukraine, and the rainy season is fast approaching. Yep, they're going to delay the delivery of the Abrams tanks, and then the rainy season's going to come, and they're going to say, you know, those Abrams tanks are really heavy, and they're not going to really make much of a difference during the mud and the rainy season. So let's just postpone it till like next spring, summer, because they saw what was happening to the Challengers and the Leopards. So that's the latest with regards to the tank saga. And finally, Zelensky, because he couldn't make it to the G20 because he wasn't invited. Zelensky wasn't invited to the G20. You know he was hurt. Because he didn't get an invite. He decided to attend the Yalta European Strategy meeting, which took place on September 8th. And the topic of this meeting was that the future is decided in Ukraine. And this is what Zelensky said at this meeting. And I quote, "When some partners say, what about the counteroffensive? When will the next step be? My answer is that today our steps are probably faster than new sanctions packages." Zelensky stressed that the sooner Ukraine receives long-range weapons, the faster the counteroffensive will be at liberating territories occupied by Russia. And the title of this article from the Kiev Independent is Zelensky, Ukraine's counteroffensive moves faster than new sanctions. So, look, the sanctions have come to an end. There's really not much more you can sanction Russia with. They're going to come out with a 12th and 13th sanctions package, but let's face it, there's really not much more you can do in terms of sanctions against Russia. And Zelensky, by equating sanctions with the pace of the counteroffensive, is effectively signaling that the counteroffensive has also run its course. That's all he did in this statement. He is saying, you know, the sanctions, they're moving slow and they've run their course. The counteroffensive is moving slow and it's run its course. That is what Zelensky is admitting to in this statement at this event. And he's right. We've been saying this on this channel, the Duran, for many weeks now, that the counteroffensive is starting to peter out. And you can see it from the Collective West articles covering the counteroffensive, because every day the article title is the same. Ukraine has liberated Rapotine. And then the next day the article says, Ukraine has liberated Rapotine. And then the next day the article says, Ukraine is liberating Rapotine. And then the article after that says Ukraine is about to liberate Rapotine. So Ukraine has liberated Rapotine for the past 3 weeks, rabotene and verbove. And this just signals that Ukraine is still fighting in rabotene, and it's starting to fade away. It's starting to fade away, and that is what Zelensky has admitted to. Anyway, let's do a clown world, and we will wrap this video up. And let's talk about Boris Johnson. How about the photos from Boris Johnson's trip to the Lviv region? And Boris Johnson, he got a degree. He got like an honorary degree, a doctor, a doctorate, a bachelor, a master's. I don't know what they gave Boris, but this university in the west of Ukraine, they decided to honor Boris with a degree, and the photos coming out from this event, it's peak clown world. It is peak clown world. So you can see the photos on your screen, and what can you say? There's really not much more that I could add to this one. So that's the first clown world, is Boris Johnson once again making another clown world. I think he's starting to get a little nervous at the fact that Annalena Baerbock is way ahead in the race for clown of the year. So maybe Boris is just trying to catch up now. Anyway, we have that as a clown world. We have Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi has announced that she's going to run again for the House of Representatives. Nancy Pelosi, she's 83 years old, I believe. 84, 83, 82. And she's going to run again. No comment. No comment. I mean, what can you say? They're trapped. They can't get out because their deep states, puppet masters won't let them leave. And they don't want to leave because they're so addicted to the power and the money that it's just everyone is boxed in. Everyone is trapped, right? And so Pelosi, McConnell, Biden, Feinstein, none of them can leave. Their masters don't let them leave, and they themselves don't want to leave because they're so addicted to the power. Anyway, that's Pelosi. And finally, how about the Kamala Harris house party and the videos that are making the rounds of Kamala Harris? I think this is her 50th or her 51st birthday, and she's having a house party, and she's getting down and grooving to the music. Kamala Harris says Biden is in India at the G20, working his diplomatic magic. Kamala Harris, who many people are now saying will be the Democrat presidential candidate, because they're seeing that Biden is just not going to cut it. Well, she's throwing a party, and the video is making the rounds. All right, Kamala has to party it up like the rest of us as well. Why not? Why not? All right, everybody. That is the video. That is the clown worlds. Those are the clown worlds. The Duran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and Twitter. We are on Twitter as well. Go to the Duran shop. Use the code GOODDAY, 10% off all merch. There you go. That's my Duran backpack. It is a really hot one here today in Cyprus at the University of Nicosia, which is actually one of the best universities if you're into Bitcoin, crypto, and blockchain. This is actually one of the best universities. All right, everybody, take care.